It's another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Rubbing Minds. Welcome. My name is Ebuka Obiuchende. Thanks a lot for joining us. It's our very last show in November. Next Sunday, I think, is December the 1st. The year is finished. A lot has happened this year. Lots and lots have happened this year. We had an election, politics. But most importantly, I think the entertainment industry is making a lot of noise and very good noise. The music industry is doing so well. We did hear that we got a Grammy nomination. I say we because Burna Boy is Nigerian, and that was very exciting news when we heard that this past week. But also, we did get quite noticed by the Academy Awards with regards to Nollywood. And even though that didn't go as planned, we're going to be starting our conversation today talking about the entertainment industry. And I have here with me someone who is literally a powerhouse. She's done this from the start of the entertainment industry. She's been on TV, she's done movies, production, acting, everything around that, and goes in and out whenever she decides, pretty much. And she's also the 60th president of International Women's Society, which is an independent, non-political organization. I have here with me the phenomenal Ego Boyo.
Hello.
Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
I've told you this a lot. I mean, I'm a huge fan of yours. Loved Checkmates.
Thank you.
Childhood crush. Let me just put this out there. So if you see me giggling too much, you know why that is. Of course, Violated was also an iconic movie. You did a lot quite in industry at the start of things. Then you went away for a long, long time, which was very painful for a lot of us. Was that family or what really happened?
Well, the thing is, people keep saying I went away, but I wasn't really away. I think because I wasn't on screen, people thought, you know, I had disappeared. But I was actually not on screen, but behind the scenes. So I was doing what I do, a producer. I had quite a lot of films, mainly advocacy, not feature films. Advocacy films, documentaries. I worked with a lot of corporate clients. So in terms of being away, that could be, you know, construed as being away. Yes, but I've always been working.
So why did you leave acting?
Okay.
What happened?
I've always had a passion for organizing. And when I got the opportunity to produce Violated, Amaka gave me that opportunity. It was my first. And
sorry, how old were you then?
I think I was 26.
Because I asked that because I know I heard a lot about Amaka Egbe, who's late now, and how she gave people opportunities. And at the time, a 26-year-old given the chance to produce a movie. I don't know, how did that happen?
I had worked with Amaka on Checkmates. She was the writer. She directed, produced. So we had worked very closely together. We had formed a bond. She knew what my aspirations were. She knew what my strengths were. So when this came about, the first thing she said to me was, I have written a role for you. So I was going to act. I was like, okay, fine. But then she now said, you know, this is what we're trying to do. And I said, why can't I produce? And she was like, okay. Do you want to? And I said, yes. She said, okay. That's how, just to tell you, that's how simple that conversation was. She had great faith in me. And we had done, you know when you get to know somebody, you know what their strengths are. Sometimes you don't even realize that you have those strengths. I had an inkling, but I think Amaka saw something. And she said, go for it. And I did. And I tried to get out of the acting part in Violated, but she was having none of it. And I mean, I think the fates were with her because I got so many great actors to play that role, and it would just not work out. They would have other things they wanted to do. So I was like, what is going on? In the end, I played the role.
We're glad you did. I mean, it's the season of remakes now. I think I've asked you this a few times as well in the past. Checkmates, Violated. Any chance of a reboot, of a sequel, of anything of the sorts with those two things?
I would love it. I would love it. But of course, with Amaka not being here, with her passing tragically, that would be up to, you know, the estate, whoever owns the rights now. So while I would love it, I don't know.
What's your relationship with, was it the Hartrop family?
Yes.
I think it was Richie.
Then Francis played
Benebo.
He's late.
Yes.
Blessed memory. And Richie. I mean, we were, at the time, when you're working with people, we had a great relationship, you know, laughed, talked. But as time goes by and people's lives sort of go in different directions, you lose touch. But whenever I've seen Bob Manuel, we're always like, hi, you know, I knew you way back, you know, that kind of thing. So it's good.
And of course, Shegun Kadiri,
Of course,
who's
Shag Kadiri,
RMD.
RMD, who I still see. We hated
You
each
violated
other.
with as well?
Yes, we hated each other on Checkmate because that's what our characters were supposed to. But we really get along, and we've done work after that, as you said. We did Violated, and we did Keeping Faith. I produced that. He acted in it. So, yes.
Very good. So acting, producing. So producing is your love now, no
I
longer
think so,
acting.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for us.
No, but you know, the thing is, sometimes, you know how it is, you say, I don't want to, but I think the right script,
Would still get
would still get me back. Yeah.
What do you think of Nollywood now? What do you think of Nollywood today? Because I know I mean, like I said, you've done this for quite a while. You've seen the evolution happen.
I think it's in a good place, but it can be in a better place. There's been a lot of advance in terms of everything, from how we even work with agents. Everybody now has somebody representing them. There's a lot more involvement with legal, you know, having proper contracts, making sure you look out for your rights. The technology, of course, brilliant. And the acceptance that the audience has for, you know, acting.
Yeah.
More than ever now, friends of mine are telling me their children are doing something in the industry. They're either, you know, focusing on special effects, or they're doing directing, more than ever.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's in a good place. But I think here, because there's not a lot of regulation, there's a lot more that we can do.
Yeah.
There's a lot more that needs to be done.
Yeah. You're very vocal on Twitter in particular. You do speak your mind with regards to how you feel about the way things are done. I remember you calling out some corporate organizations in the past. You know, we always have this massive premieres of international movies that are themed, which you found an issue with.
Yes. First of all, I have an issue with themed premieres because a lot of the times it takes away from what we're actually there to do. We're actually there to see the film and understand that whatever the focus of that film is. But then we start talking about the theme and what we were dressed as and all of that. And I don't hear a lot of conversation about the film. So I already have a problem with that. But if that's what people want to do, well, that's fine. But then, you know, when a corporate organization then decides to premiere a film that was made in a different country, a different film industry which is developing, and you know, turn your back on your own indigenous film, then I have a problem with it, because I'm thinking you're supposed to be developing this industry. If you're going to be dabbling in entertainment, then you should have, if not a 50-50 balance. And I understand it's business, all of that, but you should work actively to develop the one that is right under your nose. Yeah. So I just find it very strange.
There's an argument that they probably don't see the returns in supporting Nigerian movie. Do you think that's a fair argument? You know, when they invest in Nigerian films, do they make their money back, or will they make their money back? In
the film or in the premiere? Because
whichever.
In the premiere, I mean, what do they get from supporting the foreign films? Yeah. You know, so a lot of those things are not about getting that, you know, straight off return. But I think that in terms of supporting film, I understand, as I said, it's business. I can understand where they're coming from. But I think that their interest might actually help to propel the industry in the way it needs to go. And I'm not saying invest and then lose all your money and then we start saying, what should we do? I mean that saying to filmmakers or people in this industry, and even the organizations who are in charge of regulation, I have an interest in this. I have an interest, and we're going to back you guys, because we want to see just how well these films can do if we give you adequate backing. If you give adequate backing, it can work. You get people bringing forward scripts that have fantastic value all round. You have a better production, there are better production values. You have the top guys being able to be paid. You have a longer stretch of time. You know that we shoot films very, very quickly here. And I have to say that that is a problem with maintaining, you know, quality. If you shoot it too quick, sometimes actors are just getting into their role 2 weeks in, you know, accepting that character and all of that, and then we finish shooting. So if we have more funding, not only in the production, but even investing in cinemas, because that's where the end product is now for a lot of our films. So we need more cinemas. You
mentioned cinemas now, and it's a very contentious topic I want to talk about. Because I've had this conversation as well with a few other people in the industry about the politics of the cinema side of things, which is not very a lot of people who are not in the industry don't understand what happens.
Okay.
You know, I've heard someone complain about, oh, if you are not in a certain clique, you know, you don't get to there certain cinemas, or you don't get good times. They push a movie at 10 a.m. when they know nobody's going to come see it,
Yeah.
and all of that. What's happening there?
I think the exhibitors, again, I think it comes down to regulation. I think that we need to have a body that says that, yes, it is business. We see that foreign films draw the audiences, but you need to give your cinema, your indigenous cinema, some time, okay? Secondly, we can't all make the same types of films, because that's the argument that I have personally heard, that the films have to be this particular genre for it to sell.
Comedy, I hear,
Yes,
is usually what
comedy
sells.
is the big thing that supposedly sells. But you see, so if you continue to do that, if you do not give other films a chance, yes, we will all die off. Anybody else that wants to make any other type of film, and you will have only comedies. And then the Nigerian audience will complain, which they tend to. Now, when I say regulation, I think that these organizations must say to these people, you're an exhibitor, be an exhibitor. Because what happens is, what muddies the waters is when you're an exhibitor that starts dabbling into production. You give only your films.
Because that's happening a lot now, where we have
That's happening a lot.
cinema houses who are now producing movies.
Yes.
So you're saying basically that they produce these movies and basically
They give their own films,
the better times
yes,
and the better
in
days
the
and
cinemas.
more, maybe a longer running period
Of
even
course.
over anybody else.
Of course. Because, it makes sense. If I invest in something, I'm going to give it the best chance it can. But then you now starve the rest of us of any chance, because you're focused so much on that one that
Selling
is,
your own product.
your own product.
Yeah.
So I think that there has to be some changes there so that it works for both parties. Again, I will keep saying, I understand to a degree that when it comes down to business, when it comes down to those numbers, when you're crunching your numbers and this is what makes sense, it makes sense for you to continue to do that. But when a government says that they're trying to develop entertainment, it's not just by paying lip service to it, it's by actually doing something about it. And these are some of the things they can do, not just giving us intervention funds. Because you give me
Proper
the
laws.
funds.
So for now, it's not illegal what they're doing.
It's not illegal because it hasn't been
Just
deemed
unethical,
illegal.
maybe.
Yes, I think it's unethical. But then you are the lawyer. You tell me if it's anywhere in our laws.
So is there also a problem with, because I know there's a lot of drama with the Actors Guild and the DGN and all of those. Sometimes we hear there are two presidents of some of these bodies.
Okay.
Is it possible that because there's no unity as well with actors and directors and just the body of people in Nollywood to put pressure on these cinemas to do right? Is that also probably an issue, you think?
I mean, I think that there's unity. If there was unity, there's power in those numbers. And maybe you're right. If we had set guidelines in terms of this is what we would do as a Actors Guild or a Producers Guild or a Directors Guild, and we can then lobby on behalf of our industry. But as you said, if there's no unity, then we're not even focused on what the issues we're facing in our profession are. We're focused on who is the president, and who is the treasurer. You know, those sort of minor issues.
You have a new film out now, The Ghost and the House of Truth, which were premiered last week and is in cinemas now. So go check it out. But did you go through these issues with cinemas as well, with regards to where it can show and where it can't?
Well, I had a distributor, Silverbird, which is what your distributor does. Your distributor has conversations with the exhibitors. But I also find that, it's one of those things people don't want to talk about, but I'm going to talk about it. It's that whole thing, we're handling it. Everybody is handling what they're supposed to handle. But I find that unless you also get involved, people can actually decide that they're not going to do this or do that or the other because they think, oh, this film will not do well if it's shown here or if it's shown there or if we give it time and all of that. And I don't know what the politics within I'm not an exhibitor, so I don't know what the actual politics are. But I think that if you continue to do that, it's going to cut off a large part of this industry because we're not going to be able to continue to do business. We're not going to be able to give you, any different kind of film.
What was the reason given you for not showing your film in certain cinemas?
Gosh, there are many reasons. It's not the kind of film, it's not comedy, Nigerians won't get it, it's not the right time. Just very many different
Which is interesting because, I've seen a lot of people talk about, people who saw it at the premiere saying very good things about it. So the benchmark is just comedy, is what they're saying?
Clearly. Clearly, it seems to be that is what everybody wants to see. And even if it's not straight comedy, maybe a little, humor. But there have been films that have done well without it being a comedy. But again, I take it back to that point where it seems that it has to be with the, sort of tick mark from a particular, exhibitor investing in certain films.
Yeah. Is there a way out?
That's why it's done well.
Is there a way out, you think? Without government, first of all, because I don't know how long government might take.
I know. I mean, I think we could have conversations. I'm not sure where those conversations will go. The politics of it, I don't I don't understand what the politics are when people are sitting down, behind the scenes and discussing these things. We're not privy to them. But I think that is a conversation that can be had. That's really all, unless government just does put down those regulations and say, legally, this is wrong. You can't, you're monopolizing this industry and you're starving us of our ability to make money.
Great stuff. Moving away from that just a little now, what did you think of the Lionheart's Oscar drama?
I don't know. I think most of all, the Nigeria Oscar Committee has got to be very clear about what exactly is required before you even step forward.
With submitting anything.
Yes, and submit anything. You must be very clear of what is required and ensure that what you are submitting meets those requirements. They have their rules. And clearly, that's what has happened here. And I mean, we're not the only country that was denied. There was another country. There's a lot of other conversation that people have had about representation, about official languages. But me, all I will say is that the committee, just keep it clear, make it clear to filmmakers. And us filmmakers also look up what is required.
Yeah. The people who are the argument about, do we need the Oscars? Do you think we need the Oscars?
It's still the benchmark in terms worldwide. Of quality and a lot of other things. You could say, do we need them? Because when you consider people that are like top actors like Al Pacino, when was he finally recognized by the Oscars? But right now, it is one of those things that people aspire to. So until there's something else in its place, it's going to be the case for a while.
Are you aspiring to that, maybe?
Why not?
To do a local film in like an indigenous language. Is
Fantastic.
Something you would do?
I would. I mean, Ghost and the House of Truth is a mixture of Yoruba, Pidgin, English, because that's how we talk here in Lagos. We speak some local language, and there's Pidgin and English, depending on who you're talking to. So I would definitely want to do a film that is, Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, Tiv, whatever. I think those films are really rich because it's, when you're speaking in your language, there's a greater deal of comfort in terms of even acting, I've noticed. So I would love to, definitely.
The Ghost and the House of Truth. What informed this? The title, first of all, is very
interesting.
interesting and catchy.
Yes. It was a story that was written by two gentlemen, and Akin Omotosho, who is the director, brought it to my attention. And he said, we'd been talking about working together on different projects. We just finished one, a hotel called Memory. And we were saying, okay, let's do something different. He brought it to my attention. I read it. It was really captivating. And I thought, yes, why not? Let's do this. And very quickly, we started working. When I say very quickly, it took us 2 years to get to this point where it's now at the cinemas. But we started the process, pre-production, looking for who. Kate's character was originally, in the original story, it was a guy. And in conversation, the only person we thought to do that part was, strangely, Kate. So it became a woman. And it was perfect. She did such a perfect job, and I think it worked because of the subject matter. A mother, a woman who was about to become a mother, dealing with a mother who is looking for her child.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it was...
The Ghost and the House of Truth is showing in cinemas across Nigeria now. There's an Instagram handle to check what's the times and...
Yes, is at TGHT, the film.
Okay.
And yes, on Twitter and Instagram.
So you can find out all the time that the movie's showing.
Cinema listings.
Thank you very much. Fingers crossed for Violated and Checkmate coming back.
Yes. It's a season of reboots.
I mean, it will be great. Maybe I could just do my first cameo.
Yes.
Who knows?
Yes, who knows?
Okay, why did I say that on air? Now I have to do it. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.